Thinking about a new SUV in 2025? Here are 10 models you might want to think twice about. So, you're thinking about getting a new SUV this year. Makes sense? With gas prices still fluctuating, hybrid options multiplying, and tech packages becoming more advanced than ever, the SUV segment in 2025 is overflowing with choices. You've got futuristic crossovers, rugged off-roaders, plug-in hybrids, even full electrics, all with ads promising the perfect blend of style, safety, and performance. But here's the thing. While many of these vehicles look great on a billboard or dazzle in a 30-second ad spot, some of them simply don't hold up under the weight of real ownership. Behind the sharp LED lights and all-wheel drive badges, a few popular SUVs have become ticking time bombs riddled with recalls, plagued by tech glitches, or just underwhelming once the novelty wears off. And while this list may stir up a few passionate defenses, especially from loyalists, it's not about nitpicking every model's flaws. It's about peeling back the shiny brochures and diving into what owners, mechanics, and data reports are all saying. That some of 2025's most hyped SUVs are also among the most regretted. In fact, there's one SUV at the end of this feature that quietly avoids all of these traps and is earning a reputation as the smartest under-the-radar pick of the year. But before we get there, let's look at the ones that aren't living up to the promises. Now, let's start somewhere that might surprise you. You'd expect a vehicle praised for its stylish, city-savvy looks to be a pretty safe bet, right? That's what makes the Hyundai Kona's fall from grace all the more disappointing. Launched as a compact crossover aimed at urban drivers, the Kona's punchy design, nimble handling, and solid fuel economy helped it skyrocket in popularity. But many new owners are learning that the long-term reality doesn't match the first impression. Reports of suspension problems, faulty sensors, and transmission quirks have been stacking up fast. One owner described their experience as death by 1,000 dealer visits after their Kona was towed twice in under 6 months. Parts delays are common, with some customers waiting weeks for basic repairs. And let's not forget the issue with erratic handling at highway speeds, something that's been noted in both user reviews and road tests. Sure, it looks cool and sips gas, but when you're stranded without a loaner and the dashboard is lit up like a Christmas tree, that MPG rating feels pretty irrelevant. And just when you think automotive branding can't get more misleading, along comes the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. With a name like that, you'd expect something nimble. Maybe even a little thrilling. After all, the original Eclipse was a tuner icon in its day. But the reality is far from sporty. The Eclipse Cross feels stiff and uninspired on the road. The CVT transmission whines under even mild acceleration, and the steering lacks the kind of feedback that gives you confidence behind the wheel. Rear visibility is poor thanks to a sloped rear window design that looks cool on the outside but makes lane changes more stressful than they need to be. Even loyal Mitsubishi fans have voiced disappointment. One longtime owner described it as a good-looking compromise that forgot the fun part. Yes, Mitsubishi offers a generous powertrain warranty, but that's little comfort when the daily driving experience feels like a chore. From clunky infotainment to suspension that never quite settles on rough roads, the Eclipse Cross serves as a reminder that no amount of branding or bold styling can cover up a lackluster execution. If you're looking for excitement or refinement, this isn't the crossover to deliver it. If that's not enough to raise an eyebrow, consider the unsettling reality of a once-trusted family SUV now linked to fire risks and battery failures. We're talking about the Ford Escape. For years, the Escape held a reliable spot in the compact SUV segment. A go-to choice for families who wanted something practical, efficient, and not overly flashy. It offered just enough tech, decent fuel economy, and a name people felt they could trust. But recent model years, particularly those equipped with the 1.5L EcoBoost engine or hybrid and plug-in hybrid drivetrains, have turned that trust into concern. More than 500,000 Escapes were recalled due to engine defects that could cause fires. Even while the vehicle was in motion, that alone would be enough to shake consumer confidence, but it doesn't stop there. Several owners of the plug-in hybrid version have reported sudden power loss while driving, leaving them vulnerable in intersections or on highways. Others mention persistent warning lights, infotainment crashes, and malfunctions with Ford's much-touted Blue Cruise hands-free system. What was once a dependable daily driver has, for some, become a stressful gamble. As one longtime owner put it, "It was my third Escape and my last." When reliability starts burning out, literally, loyalty doesn't stand a chance. But not every SUV on this list is a safety concern. Some are simply falling behind the curve and fast. The Nissan Murano is a prime example. Once considered a front-runner in the midsize SUV space for its sleek design and comfortable interior, the Murano now feels like a relic of a different era. It still uses the same 3.5-liter V6 engine it's had for years, paired with an aging CVT that offers little in the way of driving excitement. While the ride remains smooth and the cabin materials are pleasantly soft in most trims, the rest of the experience feels dated. The infotainment system looks and operates like something from a decade ago, and driver assist tech that's now standard in rivals often comes at a premium, or isn't available at all. Rear visibility is compromised by thick pillars and a high beltline, and with no hybrid or electrified option on the table, the Murano is quickly being left behind in a segment where efficiency and innovation are now expected. In a market filled with smarter, sharper alternatives, the Murano feels like it's coasting on old reputation. And in today's fast-moving SUV landscape, coasting just isn't good enough. That's not to say newer models are always better. In fact, sometimes depreciation delivers a harder lesson than outdated tech ever could. Just look at the Jeep Compass. On the surface, it seems like a solid pick, a compact SUV with urban-friendly proportions, rugged styling cues, and the iconic Jeep badge. But dig even slightly below that surface and the problems start to show. In 2024 alone, the Compass saw nearly a 27% drop in value, one of the sharpest declines in its class. For buyers expecting long-term stability or decent resale, that's a painful surprise, but unfortunately, it's not just about what the Compass is worth, it's about how it performs day to day. Owners continue to report issues with laggy transmission response, glitchy infotainment systems, and unpredictable software behavior that often requires trips to the dealer just to reset. And then there's the serious stuff. A major recall tied to the Compass and Grand Cherokee 4xe plug-in hybrids due to a charging system fault that poses a potential fire risk. For a vehicle that tries to blend adventurous branding with everyday practicality, the execution just doesn't hold up. As one frustrated ex-owner put it, "I bought the name but paid for the disappointment." Speaking of the Grand Cherokee, it's impossible not to mention its much-hyped plug-in hybrid variant, the 4xe. On paper, this should be a game-changer, a perfect blend of Jeep's legendary off-road capability with forward-thinking electrification. The idea is solid, a rugged SUV that can crawl through trails one day and cruise in EV silence the next. But in reality, the 4xe has struggled to live up to the promise. Owners have reported everything from inconsistent EV range and glitchy transitions between gas and electric modes to abrupt, jarring gear shifts that make the driving experience feel clunky and unpredictable. Even more concerning are the electrical issues and software bugs, with reports of random warning lights and dashboard messages popping up without explanation. Fully loaded, the 4xe can push close to $90,000. A price tag that invites comparisons to luxury SUVs like the Range Rover Sport. But instead of refinement, many buyers have found a bumpy, unfinished product, recalls haven't helped, and the overall experience feels less like innovation and more like a beta test. While Jeep loyalists may overlook some of these flaws, others are discovering that electrification done wrong doesn't feel like the future. It feels like frustration on four wheels. Which brings us back to Europe, or at least what's supposed to feel like it. Volkswagen has not one but two midsize SUVs stirring up frustration in 2025, the Atlas and Atlas Cross Sport. With their wide stance, clean styling, and upscale interiors, they certainly make a strong first impression. But once the honeymoon phase wears off, the problems begin to surface. A recall affecting over 180,000 units due to engine covers that could detach and potentially ignite was a major red flag. Add in frequent reports of turbocharger failures, electrical gremlins, and infotainment systems that randomly black out, and that polished image starts to crack. For many owners, the long-term experience hasn't matched the premium look. One summed it up perfectly. "It felt like a budget Audi until I had to replace a sensor and paid Audi prices." When reliability doesn't match the badge, showroom charm only goes so far. The Tiguan, Volkswagen's smaller and more affordable SUV, isn't faring much better than its bigger siblings. Sure, it scores points for interior flexibility and passenger comfort, but long-term ownership tells a different story. Timing chain problems, dual clutch transmission failures, and even excessive oil consumption, yes, still in 2025, continue to frustrate drivers. Some owners report having to top off their oil between service intervals, a practice that should have disappeared with older engines. And it's not just a few isolated cases. Independent mechanics and forums alike echo the same concerns. One mechanic in New Jersey put it bluntly, "I see more Tiguans than Toyotas. That's all you need to know." While the Tiguan may look like a practical and stylish European option at first glance, ongoing mechanical issues and unpredictable maintenance costs make it hard to recommend. It's proof that sometimes the real cost of a car doesn't show up until the warranty's gone. But if everything so far feels like a warning about trusting flashy marketing, just wait until we get to the Dodge Hornet. Rolled out with aggressive branding, moody lighting, and a clear target on the backs of younger, style-conscious drivers, the Hornet seemed ready to bring some bite to the compact SUV segment. Unfortunately, behind all that swagger is a vehicle struggling to deliver on the basics. Built on the same platform as the Alfa Romeo Tonale, it carries over not just the DNA but many of the problems too. J.D. Power rated it with a dependability score of just 66 out of 100, well below average for its class. Inside, the sporty aesthetics quickly give way to cheap-feeling plastics, an infotainment system that lags and glitches, and a back seat that's barely usable for adults. Battery drain issues have surfaced in early owner reports, and resale projections are already grim. Some estimates say the Hornet could lose as much as $20,000 in value over 5 years. One disappointed owner summed it up. "It had all the swagger in the showroom, but once I drove it every day, the illusion wore off." Sadly, it's all sting and no staying power. So what's the takeaway here? These SUVs all offer something on the surface, be it bold styling, brand cachet, or tech-forward packaging. But too often, the substance doesn't match the sales pitch. In a market where dependability, service support, and long-term value matter more than ever, it pays to go beyond the brochure.